Imagine a world where human beings are no longer seen as individuals with dignity and rights, but as experimental objects, not animals, not machines, but living humans capable of fear, pain, and hope. Throughout history, in the name of science, power, and ambition, some of the most brutal experiments were carried out on human beings. Even worse, many of these experiments were deliberately hidden from the public. Documents were destroyed, witnesses were silenced, victims were erased from official records. Today we uncover one of the darkest chapters in human history. This is not conspiracy theory. This is documented fact. Human experimentation did not begin suddenly. In the early 20th century, scientific progress accelerated rapidly. Medical discoveries advanced, technology evolved, and global conflicts created an urgent demand for innovation. However, ethical standards failed to keep pace with scientific ambition. Many researchers and authorities believed that research results were more valuable than human lives. Human beings became tools. Data became more important than dignity. Those most frequently targeted were people without power, prisoners of war, the poor, racial and ethnic minorities, patients in mental institutions, orphaned children. They were chosen not because they volunteered, but because they had no voice. No consent was given. No explanation was offered. They were used because they could not resist. One of the darkest chapters of human experimentation occurred during World War II under Nazi Germany. Inside concentration camps, experiments were conducted systematically by doctors and scientists working for the regime. In the name of racial ideology and scientific advancement, prisoners were treated as laboratory material. Some were subjected to extreme cold exposure, submerged in ice water to measure how long the human body could survive before organ failure. Others were placed in low-pressure chambers to simulate high-altitude conditions, often resulting in slow and agonizing deaths. Many prisoners were deliberately infected with deadly diseases without treatment, solely to observe the progression of illness. Surgeries were performed without anesthesia to study pain, tolerance, and physical limits. These acts were carefully documented not as crimes but as scientific research. When the war ended and the truth began to surface, the world was horrified. Yet quietly, much of this data was preserved and absorbed by other nations. The knowledge was kept. The victims were forgotten. At the same time, similar atrocities were taking place in Asia. Imperial Japan operated a secret division known as Unit 731. This facility existed to develop biological weapons, hidden from the public and even from much of the military. Here, human beings were used as living test subjects. Deadly pathogens were deliberately released. Chemical weapons were tested directly on people. Researchers observed how the human body deteriorated under extreme, artificially created conditions. What makes this history even darker is what followed the war. Many individuals involved in Unit 731 were never prosecuted. Instead, their experimental data was considered too valuable to lose. In exchange for immunity, their research was handed over. For decades, the truth remained buried. Only years later did survivor testimonies and declassified documents reveal the full scale of these crimes. Human experimentation was not limited to authoritarian regimes. Democratic nations also conducted secret experiments on their own populations. One of the most well-known examples is the MK-Ultra program in the United States. This covert operation aimed to study mind control and behavioral manipulation. Subjects were exposed to psychoactive substances and psychological techniques designed to alter consciousness. Many participants were never informed that they were part of an experiment. No consent was obtained. Some only discovered the truth decades later, after classified files were released. The damage was not only physical but psychological, often lasting a lifetime. For many victims, there was no closure, no apology, and no justice. Perhaps the most tragic aspect of human experimentation is that the majority of victims were never acknowledged. Their names were never recorded. Their stories were not taught in classrooms. They were neither heroes nor criminals. They were ordinary people who became invisible casualties of ambition and power. Families were left without answers, never knowing what truly happened to their loved ones. Eventually, global awareness began to change. Out of these horrors emerged new ethical standards. The Nuremberg Code was established. The Declaration of Helsinki was adopted. Human research became subject to strict requirements, voluntary consent, transparency, and protection of participants. These rules did not appear by chance. They were written in response to suffering, built upon the lives of countless victims who never agreed to be part of history. Today, as we benefit from modern medicine and scientific advancement, we rarely consider the cost at which some knowledge was obtained. History often celebrates progress and discovery, while ignoring its darker foundations. Human experimentation teaches us a critical lesson. Science without morality is dangerous. When truth is hidden, victims may be forgotten, but the scars of history never fully disappear. The question we must ask now is whether humanity has truly learned from its past, or whether history is simply waiting to repeat itself, under different names and modern justifications. Because as long as some humans are considered less worthy of dignity than others, the shadows of these dark experiments will never truly fade.